Didn't know I had a live studio audience, did you? Hi, Carl Rominger here. The show's Weekend Appointment, the show where I answer your legal questions here on the air. 540-0580. 540-0580. That's our talk line number. If you have a legal question, you want to talk about divorce, you want to talk about child custody, you want to talk about your lawnmower engine, I don't care. Call in and we'll talk about it. 540-0580. And, of course, as always, you can go to weekendappointment.com. That's the website. And people post questions there throughout the week. You can also get my contact information from my office. And as some of you may remember from last week, I've been in trial all week. I had 2 trials back-to-back in Cumberland County. Government 2, Carl 0. But, I got to give them one once in a while, I guess. Maybe 2 at a time. Had a lot of great jurors. I could tell they were paying attention. So I went through 24 actual jurors, 4 other alternates, and a bunch of other people that were through the selection process. And as always, if anybody ever wants to call in and tell us about their service on a jury, whether it's one I was involved with or it's just a story you want to tell us about one you were involved with, I'm always happy to hear what people have to say. I'm always curious to see how the jury reaches the conclusions it did and what interesting stories and things you can bring to light. I've heard judges tell jurors before, well, you really shouldn't talk about this. But the answer is it's your absolute right and privilege to talk about your jury service, and you're free to talk to anybody you want about it. You're really not supposed to trash your other jurors if you can avoid it, but there's nothing illegal about commenting on the overall dynamic. Joe, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. My talk line number is 540-0580. What's going on, Joe?
Yeah, I was caught out of state with a concealed weapon.
Okay.
They took my gun permit from Pennsylvania.
What state? What? Tell me.
Ohio.
You were driving out to Ohio?
Yeah, and I forgot and had my gun on me, and I went to Ohio, and they caught me with it on me, and then they took my PA permit.
The sheriff revoked that, or they just physically take it?
They revoked it.
And why did the sheriff do that? What was his reasoning?
They said because I was caught outside of the state with the gun.
Okay. Were you charged with anything in the other state?
Yeah, but it wasn't a major thing. It was just, what was it called?
What did you do in the other state? Did you just plead guilty, or did you have a lawyer?
I pleaded guilty because I had the gun on me. What I wanted to know is, can I still own a handgun in Pennsylvania?
Well, I don't know what you pled guilty to. That's the problem. You might have pled guilty to some kind of misdemeanor or even a felony.
It was a misdemeanor.
And was it a misdemeanor that carries more than the possibility of 2 years in jail?
No.
Then
all I got was a $800 fine, and it was a misdemeanor.
Well, that's a different question. You just told me what your fine was. People get confused. You can plead guilty to a misdemeanor and lose your gun rights and not go to jail because it carries a possibility of more than 2 years in jail. So you're sure it didn't carry more than that possible?
No, it didn't.
Well, it probably shouldn't be an automatic disabling offense. The sheriff may have simply done it because he said it showed poor judgment. That might be his position on it. I'm concerned you pled guilty because I'm not sure you had to. If you're just passing through another state, I think you're allowed to carry a firearm with you. But if you had it on your person while you were, hanging out,
I had it on my person.
Yeah. Well, there's your first problem. You got to be very careful when you go from state to state.
I wasn't thinking. I had it in my coat pocket. I was on my motorcycle and had it on my coat pocket.
Okay, so you just happened to just drive out of state. I mean, it wasn't like you were going to spend the day out there or you were staying overnight. Right. Boy, my friend, you shouldn't have pled guilty to that. That'd probably be my first bit of advice. Number 2, we need to study your exact conviction and make sure it's not a disabling offense. And you probably could go back to your sheriff and see about getting your concealed carry permit put back in place as long as some time's passed. And number 2, so long as you're not disabled from owning a firearm in Pennsylvania. I don't see why you would be based on what information you're giving me.
Yeah, it's been about 11 months now.
Yeah. What county?
York.
Okay. Well, you got to get together with that sheriff, reapply, and see what they tell you. And then if he doesn't grant it, you have the right to go to a judge and have a hearing on it, where the judge will see if the sheriff's exercising his discretion or not. Based on what you're telling me, I mean, gosh, you're carrying it on you. You drive cross a state line, you just forget you have it with you. I think that's not showing such poor judgment or bad judgment that you're a safety hazard. I mean, what difference does it make if you have the gun in Cumberland County or York County, or if you accidentally slide across the border to another county? I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah.
So, but Joe, don't just plead guilty in other states to charges. Make sure you check out what the consequences are before you do it back here at home.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck. That's a big no-no for everybody out there. I have people tell me all the time, well, I was in Virginia and I got this traffic ticket and I pled guilty to it, and now I'm getting some letter from PennDOT, and what do I do? Well, you pled guilty. By the way, talk line number is 540-0580. You pled guilty, 2 months ago down in Virginia. Now I got to find you a Virginia lawyer, and the Virginia lawyer is saying they can't get you out of it, and PennDOT's just going to do what PennDOT does based on the charge getting certified across from state to state. Same thing with misdemeanors. A second offense DUI, you can lose your gun rights on a second offense DUI. Not all second offense DUIs, but some. And I have a lot of guys, I got another DUI, and, I just pled guilty because it seemed like the right thing to do. And now they're telling me I can't own guns. Or, I was in a fight with my girlfriend and really nothing happened, but the neighbors got concerned and they called somebody and nobody got hurt, nobody got hit, nobody even did anything. Cops charged us both with simple assault, mutual fray, and now they say I can't own guns. And I just had to pay a $50 fine and walk back out of the courtroom, and I thought that was just because nothing happened. So, again, you got to check on this stuff, folks. 540-0580. And let me remind you to go to Weekend Appointment throughout the weekendappointment.com throughout the week and post your questions. We're going to talk about a few of those in a second. Dawn, you're on the air.
Hi, how are you today?
Good.
Hey, I love your show. I'm listening to you when you're on, Bob, and I'm glad you got your own time.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, I got a quick question for you. Maybe you can help me, maybe not. I went through some financial problems about 3 years back. I had to quit my job and take care of both my parents who were ill and infirm,
Okay.
and owe some folks some money and was thinking about claiming a bankruptcy. But then I found that nobody ever filed any claims at the magistrate for any of the money. It was basically, a landlord and
Right.
Two different landlords, one for one rental living space, one for a storage space.
Okay.
About 2.5 years has passed. Nobody's contacted me. I've looked up the records. There's really been no claim against me in any court, no judgment. And now I have a pretty good new job, and I want to know what I can do to protect myself and set myself up financially.
Well, I think you still there?
I'm here.
Okay. You got two problems. One is they can still bring those claims back as long as it's within the applicable statute of limitations, and a failure to pay would be a 4-year statute of limitations, generally speaking.
Okay.
However, and I'm not one to kick sleeping dogs, if you know what I mean. But
Right.
sometimes if you want to make a clean break, what you do is you approach the person and say, hey, I've come into some ability to pay you. I just want to make a clear understanding of what I owe. And if I owe you $2,000, but I'm willing to give you $1,000, will you call it satisfied? And you get what's called a satisfaction. Then you don't have to worry about it coming back. But then again, then they start thinking, well, maybe he has more money than he's letting on now, or why is he approaching me suddenly out of the blue to win the Powerball Saturday night? So then maybe they pursue you when they never would have. But filing a bankruptcy could still kill any of those debts because they don't have to actually be filed against you. If you know of any debts you have, you can list those on the bankruptcy. You don't have to actually be formalized.
Now, in the case that I have a new job, though, that's going to be providing me an income, will I still be able to file bankruptcy?
You would, but you'll probably have to file a 13, and that may require you to pay back some or all of that over a schedule of time.
Okay.
I got to go to break here.
Thank you very much for help. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Bye. Weekend appointment, Carl Rominger here, 540-0580. I will see you after the break. 540-0580. Carl Rominger here. Those of you that know me, I'm an attorney. Those of you that don't know me, I'm an attorney that practices all around central Pennsylvania. I was getting my butt kicked in trial this week. Government's 2-0 on me. I gotta admit it. I can't lie. Lost 2 of them, folks. It happens. What can I do? But no. Actually, justice prevailed. What I mean by that is people got their day in court. We got to talk to those witnesses, see what really happened. And, of course, it turned out to be not exactly what the government thought, but it was sufficient for them to get their convictions. And that's what's always interesting about the criminal law. A lot of times it's not about what's charged. It's about what anybody can prove at the end of the day. And boy, oh boy, you'd be amazed. I almost fell on my chair a couple times when a few of these witnesses said things this week where I was like, wow, that's nowhere to be found in a report, or that's the first time we heard that. And I can tell you, I think the prosecutor fell out of their seats a few times too with the same statements from the same witnesses, which always makes it fun. It's that little curveball. Lewis.
Oh, hi, thanks. I wanted to ask you, it's about the first call with the fellow with the gun permit. Do you find in criminal law that people unnecessarily plead guilty a lot of the time?
All the time. I get, and I'm not going to tell you that, I could have got O.J. Simpson a better deal than he got. I mean, but the answer is usually if people go into court on their own, nobody will help them out. I mean, the judge is not there to help you. The prosecutor's not there to help you. And the police officer is the guy who arrested you. Now, sometimes they'll take compassion on you. And once in a while, they'll steer a person in the right direction. But I find, and I'll give you a great example. I'll give you DUI law. A lot of times prosecutors have no idea what the license issues are because they don't deal with them. They simply have the person get convicted, and then PennDOT separately takes care of the license. And your personal license history affects how PennDOT deals with your license as well as your prior record. So a lot of times the prosecutors, when we go to them, we say, here's our real issue. This guy's a CDL driver, and the way you charged it under this subsection, it's going to do this to him or not do this to him. They say, if that's the issue, what do you want to do? And you say, well, we can still do the same jail time. We can still do the same probation. We can still do the same fine. But we could work out a deal that everybody can live with. So he's still getting punished, but you're not destroying his career. So, yeah, there's a lot of flexibility in the system, but somebody has to know to ask for it and how to guide it. Number two. Go ahead. I was just going to say, number two, a lot of times what you're charged with isn't what you did. So let me give you an example. If I push you, you and I are just talking. You know what I mean by talking, right? We're the bar kind of bumping chests a little bit, and I just push you. Is that a simple assault or is that a harassment? Well, it's really more of a harassment. If I clock you, it's probably, simple assault. But then once I've clocked you, how come they charged you a simple assault? You should be entitled to self-defense. So it's got to get sorted out. And the prosecution and the police do a good job, but they're not there to sort it out to the benefit of every individual participant. That's what a personal attorney does. So, yeah, I find a lot of people plead to things they don't need to.
So it's just best to say, not guilty, shut your mouth, and get a hold of an attorney to do it for you, right?
I can't tell you that in every situation talking to the police wouldn't be a good idea, but I can tell you that in almost every case I'm involved in, most people end up with a conviction simply because they talked to the police, and if they had not talked to the police, there would be very little for the government to go on, and they probably would not even prosecute the person.
Okay.
So that's my advice.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
If they tell you don't need an attorney, you need two.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, that's in all seriousness. Someday I'm going to get the tape of when the police stopped me. I'm working on getting that, and then we're going to post it on the website so you can all hear what you're supposed to say to the police. Basically sounds like go away, but in legalese. Gal, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger, 540-0580.
Hi. I have a question about medical billing. I was receiving outpatient services at a physician every 3 months for about 2 years. And I found out after the first year and a half that I was paying the wrong copay. I was literally paying $50 instead of $15.
Okay.
So when I realized that, and of course they never refunded me or sent me a statement, I said to them, I won't pay my copays until I'm either caught up or you figure this out. Didn't hear anything, continued to go for another 6 months. Don't go there anymore. Received a bill for services back to 2007. Now, I don't have an itemized statement, and I know that's what I need to do, but is there a statute of billing for time for medical payments?
Well, it's like any other unpaid bill. It's going to be 4 years.
Okay.
So, but the answer is now. Here's the next question. What you have to actually sue a person to preserve that. So, if I'll give you, let's run some numbers here. It's 2009, right? So let's say in 2004, I got services, and I got service in 2005 and 2006, and they send me a demand letter or a bill and say this is what's owed, and I continue to ignore it. Once they sue me, we can only go back 4 years. That makes sense to see what's in that.
Yeah, I thought that medical providers couldn't bill patients' insurance companies after a certain period, and I thought that would apply to them billing patients too. But I guess that's not true.
Well, no, wait. Here's the next question. I mean, if depending what their contract with the insurance company is, they may have an agreement with the insurance company that we shall submit within this period of time, or else we don't have to pay it anymore. Next question is, are you included in that contract as a third-party beneficiary? I don't know.
Okay.
Depending on how much you owe, though, it might cost too much to have an attorney figure it out.
Right. It sounds like I need to dig into it. Okay.
All right, good luck with that.
Thank you for your help.
I'm going to take Helen here in a second. Hold on, Helen. I just want to highlight a success story we got on weekendappointment.com. We had a guy named Danny. He wanted to get some tenants to start paying, and he posted on here. And, of course, we put up some material on the Landlord Tenant Act and the notice to quit and how to do it. And then he wanted to know, another guy posted in and wanted to know how he could have something like that served, a notice to quit. And we referred a company called Pennsylvania Professional Process Service to him. And we just got a post yesterday saying everything worked well. They posted the door, and the tenants magically came to their senses and caught up on their bill and kept paying their rent. So I guess it's a success story all around. Landlords got paid, and tenants didn't have to get evicted. Helen, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Hi. I think it was last week, there was something about the Messiah College did not tell students that there had been an attack on some students after in the dark for 3 days, and Bob had it on his show, and I tried to call your office but had the wrong number to find out. I got something from Greenleaf's office. The gentleman called me back, and he said November 29th, 2004, pamphlet 1383, which was Act 180 of 2004, they amended the higher education bill that said that they had to report these crimes, and they have to report this stuff to the state police.
Right.
But he said, I don't know if you remember that case back in the 90s where some girl was killed, and I can't remember what Pennsylvania school it was, but her parents were quite wealthy, and they got their senator, I believe, to push some kind of bill. I don't know if it went through. But, this guy from Mr. Greenleaf's office said that there is the section where campus police powers and duties from the Administrative Code of 1929 was amended in 1997, and he couldn't find a copy of that right away. And, of course, I'm not on the net, but Bob was, talking about it and wanted to know if anybody knew about it, and that's as far as I got. Do you remember anything about them having to report this?
I think they have to report all major criminal incidents to the Pennsylvania State Police, but I think it's up to the state police if they want to make it public or not. But that I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I seem to recollect that that's the way it went. I remember, and I think maybe it was even my alma mater, Allegheny College, that had that issue you're talking. There was a lawsuit up there years ago.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and here's the answer. They didn't remember in Steelton. Was it Steelton the other day where the guy went in front of the town and said, "Hey, I got shot," and nobody told the public about it when I was robbed.
Yeah.
Theoretically, we don't. I guess we don't have a right to know anything unless the press goes out and inquires about it or wants to report on it. I mean, the state police, I guess, could put out a press release about what's going on based on what they've heard from the college, and you would think that the press would pick up on it, but they're kind of the gatekeeper on that. But there's probably no direct report from the college to the community.
I know Harrisburg has a terrible problem with that. People are like, these shootings, unless the press picks them up, you wouldn't know to be careful going through Harrisburg. I mean, there's been such an increase in shootings. We used to have maybe one or two a year in downtown Harrisburg, but now they've had just in the last 6 months a whole bunch of them, and there were supposed to be even more, according to people I know that live down there. But you're right, unless the press picks it up.
And in Harrisburg, I mean, I remember thinking, Oh, I just go down to 2nd Street on a Thursday night. Nobody's going to shoot me there. And then, gosh, they shot somebody right around the restaurant row not too long ago. So
Yeah. So, it'd be nice to have somebody besides the press doing it, especially in schools. But I thought maybe you might know off the top of your head anything more than what Mr. Greenleaf's office got.
I don't. But tell you what, Helen, if you remind me next week, I'll try to look it up between now and then. And if you call, we'll give you a report.
Yeah, because the act he gave me, like I said, was 180 of 2004. And I'd look it up on the net, but like I said, my computer died.
Yeah, and I've got nice thing about being an attorney is it's not nice because it's very expensive, but I pay for a service.
Lexus?
Yeah.
It used to be $800 a month, and it's probably a lot more now.
Yeah. So, but it gives me pretty quick access to stuff like that, and I should be able to find it, and I will report on it next week. So why don't you call me? Because I'm going to go into my break here.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Helen. Thank you. All right, Helen's out there. She's gonna keep eye on the ball, and she'll get the campus straightened out. It sounds like. All right, 540-0580. Carl Rominger here with Weekend Appointment. I'll see you after the break. Hey, welcome back. 540-0580. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions on this fine Saturday afternoon. And we got a few callers stacked up here, but I'll give you the talk line number again anyhow. It's 540-0580. And they promised me that we're going to be available under the podcast soon here. I know that Shane has been dutifully recording the shows and putting them in podcast format, but they will be up on the WHP 580 website at some point, and, of course, at weekendappointment.com. So I will let you know as soon as that happens, but I know they're working on it. TJ, you're on WHP 580.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What's going on?
All right, pretty good. I was going to call in about a criminal case I had going on a couple years back.
Okay.
Okay, it's involving drugs, but when they came to the house, they came with a body warrant.
Okay.
So when they got me, all right, I'm upstairs and everything in my house, and they apprehended me in the hallway. So now the subject, sorry, I'm a little nervous, but
yeah.
But so they got me now in the hallway. So the search is done because they got me for the body warrant.
Right.
But then they continued to search the rooms. You know what I mean? Saying, is anybody else here? Whatever. So when they went to a closet and they seen a gun there.
Right, and then they seized the gun?
Yeah. So that's what made them prompt to ask for a consent to search. So I mean, it's word under the bridge now because I was convicted and everything. But I was wondering, is there any way where, like, it was a loophole where...
You can't go backwards at this point. You got to raise those issues in the first instance.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. And there's another incident, like, and the cop that was involved with the case, I won't put his name out there. You hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
And he took, like, some of the stuff, and he was convicted a couple of years back for stealing the what I had in the house.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's, again, too late to do anything with stuff that's years old.
Okay.
All right, TJ.
All right, thanks.
TJ's talking about body warrants. What he's talking about, folks, just so you know, body warrant, that's a warrant for the person, not a warrant to search the premise. And I think TJ's onto something there, which is once they found the guy they're looking for, they really can't continue to go through the house, but you got to raise those constitutional issues in the first instance. And for those of you who don't think that that should matter, if you're guilty, and let the cops search your house, move to Iran. Sandy, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. Are you there, Sandy?
Yes.
You're on the air.
Okay, thanks. I have a question about the cases you tried last week. Apparently you said you lost both of them.
I did.
If I want to follow one of them or get information on one of them, how do I get a copy of the court proceedings, or is anything online on the Internet that I can access?
You can get online. You can get the web dockets, which basically just show you the dates of various events, but they don't have any of the testimony, witnesses called, or actual court orders in them.
I have to go to the courthouse?
You go to the Cumberland County Courthouse or whichever courthouse the case would be in. But, of course, if you're asking about one of mine that we were referencing, those would both have been Cumberland County. And you go to the clerk of the courts, and you can look them up by name or docket number, whichever one you have. And once you find theoretically, they have to let you look through the file.
Okay. So where is the Cumberland County Courthouse?
Downtown Carlisle.
Okay, do you know the address offhand? I'm not familiar with Carlisle, that's why
I just know it's in the downtown on the corner of High and Hanover Streets.
High and Hanover.
High and Hanover.
Okay.
All right.
Sure. I'm interested in one of your cases because I think I knew the gentleman from years ago.
Okay, go read away.
All right, thank you.
All right, good luck.
Bye.
Yeah, folks, it's all public record. I have sometimes clients say, "Oh, I can't believe this is public record. They're going to let the newspaper report it." And again, like that's Iran or Russia. You know, somebody disappears and nobody knows about it. You can't go to the courthouse and see who's been arrested, and you can't. That's why it's public record, and that's why we put in the newspaper who's been arrested, because we're a free country. Jay, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Hi.
What's going on, Jay?
Yes, I'm calling about traffic tickets.
Yeah.
And I thought that your listeners should know, you touched on it before, but if you get a simple traffic ticket in Pennsylvania or in, where is this, Otero County or Dauphin County?
Yeah.
They require you to send in the amount of the fine just to have a trial, which I think is unconstitutional. But I went down to the office and I found out you can go to the office of the public defender and get a waiver of the whatever the fine is.
Right.
So you don't have to pay to go to trial, so to speak.
Right. And a lot of the district magistrates, if you go in person, will accept a lesser amount on a circumstance by circumstance basis. So, for instance, a lot of them will, if it's a $300 ticket, they might accept $50 as collateral.
Right. Well, they say that, but if you send it in through the mail, then they... Yeah,
you have to go in person or contact them.
Right away, which is not right. I mean, in other states, if you request a trial, you go and the police have to be there, right. And they don't require you to post the amount of the fine, which I thought couldn't be right. And then I discovered when I went to the office that you can go to the public defender's office on Second Street, I believe,
right,
in Harrisburg, and get this. They have to give you a piece of paper saying that they waive the fine. Or if you can't pay the full amount of the fine, sometimes it might be a $300 fine.
Right, they'll let you pay a lesser amount as collateral.
You have to do it over time, which I think is fair, but they make you jump through so many hoops to do it.
Right.
And I'm from another state, and I've never seen this, so I just wanted to comment for all those people that get these, traffic tickets are anywhere from $150 to $300 now. You don't have to pay right away, and you can pay over time if you take the time to go and find out what the procedure is.
And a lot of times you can get out of the fine entirely if you fight them.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, just pleading guilty automatically, a lot of people just do that.
That's a sucker's game.
Yeah, exactly. I fight every ticket I've ever gotten.
All right, Jay, thanks for the commentary.
Okay, thank you.
540-0580, Carl Rominger here with Weekend Appointment, answering your legal questions. Doug, you're on WHP 580.
Hey, Carl, I was wondering if you can help me. It's been bugging me for years, and your educated guess or best guess. The Philadelphia Parking Authority.
Yeah.
They were able to give my 70-year-old mother a parking ticket in Philadelphia at a hospital in Philly in a handicap zone.
Okay.
And she's never been to Philadelphia. She's only been Harrisburg.
Right.
What is your best guess on how they're doing that? Because they had the make, the model, the color, the license plate. Are they going onto the PennDOT system, or they just have a program that makes guess best on?
I had somebody that came in one time who brought me a whole pile of things from Philadelphia. But what was happening was somebody had stolen a license plate of theirs or something, and they were just getting the license plate information, then apparently filling in the automobile information based on what was supposed to be with the tag. So leads me to wonder is what she's experiencing because there's a duplicate tag down there that somebody's using, and of course they just run the tag number and then they fill in the rest of the vehicle information from there, which doesn't make sense. But
it was just they had it down packed. This car was nowhere near Philadelphia ever.
Right, and then you got to go down there to fight it.
Had to go down there. We were able to show that we were nowhere near there. And, but of course that was expense and irritation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a parking ticket.
I'm just curious how they do that, because, it's almost, there was a thing in the newspaper about it. It's almost like a scam they got going.
I was going to say, maybe they're using the people from Acorn to ticket the car.
All right.
All right, man.
Bye. Thanks anyway.
Bye. You know, and I had that one time where somebody was supposedly driving under suspension because the police saw her driving her car, and I was able to show that she was making a purchase 20 miles away in another town at the time. So how that comes to be, or who thinks they see what, and how they fill in some of those things, I never know. Ron, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Hey, Carl, how are you today?
Good.
Good. Hey, I'm calling again about this eminent domain thing I've called you about a few times.
Camp Hill.
And I got another question about it.
Yeah.
The last time we talked, I was asking you about, I said, the Supreme Court decision, Kelo versus New London, I believe it was,
okay,
and why they made that decision. And I believe you told me you thought it was something, if I remember correctly, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it might have been they were deferring to states' rights?
Basically deferring to states' rights, and also just saying that the constitutional prohibition on there's nothing in the Constitution that says the government can't take your land. It just says they have to use due process and just compensation. Those are the only two requirements for it to be constitutional.
Oh, so because of the fact that eminent domain isn't that in the federal Constitution, though?
Well, they can't take your land without due process, and under the Fifth Amendment and take your property without just compensation.
But why would they defer to states' rights if it's in the federal Constitution?
Well, no. There's a prohibition on those two things, but the rest is up to the states. In other words, just like abortion, each state can be more or less restrictive as long as they don't violate the federal Constitution. So as long as they give you due process and just compensation.
Yeah, because the federal Constitution says that the federal government only has the powers written in the Constitution. All other powers go to the states, so it must be related to that too.
Right, that's the idea. And the idea there, though, is that the states can't violate the Fifth and the due process clause.
Ah, okay. Well, it just was such an odd decision, It just seems so wrong.
Yeah, well, you know what, though? I always like those decisions because those are the ones when I always like when I talk to people and they tell me, I'm a conservative, strict judicial constructionist. And I'm like, well, you can tell me that now, but you're going to find out that also means you're not going to like some decisions like the ones where the courts have said, hey, you know what? If a guy wants to cross-examine anybody, no matter how ludicrous it is and how guilty he is, if you can't get that witness there, then the evidence doesn't get in, even if we all know it's true, because that's what the Constitution says. And some law and order guys pull their hair out over that stuff.
Well, what about that I've heard about the only time they can take it is for the greater public good? Where does that come in? Is that in federal or?
I don't think that's in the federal Constitution. I think that's just a theory of eminent domain law in general. And remember, we're still a common law. We still have the common law wherever state legislatures have not taken it over. But I would assume that the legislature gets to assume what's in the common good, right?
Okay.
All right, Ron, I got to go into break.
For clarifying it. Have a good day.
All right, man. 540-0580, Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. Make sure you go to weekendappointment.com and become a registered user so you can get your free will. I'll see you after the break. Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here. I have one more on weekendappointment.com I want to answer, but I have so many callers right now, I'm not going to do it. But there's a guy here who has a question about manufacturer's warranties. And he's having problems with E10 fuel in his boat. And I'm going to answer that one online and get around to it in the next day or so because we just got so many callers here. Willeen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What's your question?
I don't have a question. I wanted to make a comment about the Philadelphia business. That's been going on in Philadelphia for 50 years. My mother's husband was in the hospital dying with cancer, and he got one of those letters that his car was in Philadelphia, and my poor mother had to go through so much to prove that car was not in Philadelphia. And
you think they're sending somebody up to the hospital and looking around? Is that what they're doing?
I don't know No, I don't think so. I just think that it's a racket, and once in a while they'll hit it, and they pay the fine. But she had to go through so much to prove that she didn't drive and he was dying, and the car. There was no way the car could have been in Philadelphia. But I've heard of so many people since then that this has happened to.
Right, and what's really sickening about it is if you told me that it was some crazy scam charity, operating out of Florida swamp somewhere, at least we could understand why it happens. But here it's the government that's running
of Philadelphia, yes.
Amazing.
So I just wanted to make that comment because it's been going on, and I've known many other people that it's happened to.
Thank you very much for calling in and letting us know. All right, Wileen.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Gosh, makes you sick. Sue, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Hi. I have a question. I received a stop sign violation a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And I was wondering, what's the best way? I mean, I pled not guilty, and I'm going to fight it, but
right.
Because I was definitely not in the wrong. But isn't it basically her word against mine?
Yeah, there's some magic words the police have to say, for instance, in a stop sign case.
Okay.
I won one of those not too long ago. Even with a district attorney, we did the appeal, and the district attorney representing the officer, and I walked in and I said, come on, let us do a no point violation, and the officer's like, no, and so at the end, I just stood up, and my client was waiting for me to go through this wonderful cross-examination. Of course, I said no questions, and everybody's looking at me, and I said, Judge, here's the case, here's the magic words he forgot to say, and DA was like, what? So there are some things you can do. Also, though, a lot of times, and I strongly counsel you and everyone else in the world that even if you're not in the wrong, if they're willing to give you a no-point violation, pay a fine, then you take it, because the certainty of no points is always better than points.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a 4-point offense.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you don't want to fool with that one. We would like to usually change what's called a 3111, which is a failure to obey a traffic control device, which means, you didn't stop at the stop sign, but it carries no points.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sure you're in the right or the wrong, the answer is then the judge gets to decide, and if it's a straight factual question, usually the police officer is going to prevail. On the other hand, like I say, there are some hoops you can make them jump through, and sometimes they don't always know them.
Right.
But I'm not going to tell everybody what those are, because that's what you pay me for.
Right. Right, because it's so frustrating, because I know I stopped, and there was even somebody sitting at the other stop sign. He went ahead of me. He even thanked me for letting him go. And then next thing you know, I see flashing lights behind me, and I'm like, why am I being pulled over? So
I was not too long ago, late at night with some friends, driving in a car. Looked like we could have been drinking, I'm sure, because it's 3:30 in the morning, and there's another car behind us, and they're following us because we're going out to set up goose decoys in a cornfield a couple, hour or two away. And they weren't close behind us at all, and they got pulled over. And the officer was trying to tell them that they were tailgating us, and that's why he pulled them over. And I'm chuckling, saying, yeah, you're fishing for DUI because it's 3:30 in the morning and we drove through your town. And, they weren't tailgating. I know, because I kept looking in the rearview mirror going, I hope these guys, stay close enough that they don't see where we're turning. So it was clearly a, I want to stop somebody kind of thing. Stop sign violation, they may have just misperceived it. A lot of times, also where you stopped, they may have not liked where you stopped, but are they saying you ran right through it?
Yes, she said I completely blew it. And there's no way, because I would have hit the other guy that turned.
Right.
So, I don't know. Is it a good idea to take pictures of the area?
It helps to show where they were, yeah.
Because I didn't pull right up on the stop sign, and, I don't know how she could have seen me.
And that's the $20 question, where do you stop? And I could give you a whole breakdown on that, too. If there's a painted line, you have to stop at the painted line. However, if there's a painted line but you can't clearly see both ways, you have to stop again when you get up to where you can see both ways.
Right, and then this stop sign, it's a three-way stop, and there's no painted lines on either side. So
the place to stop then is where you can see, where you can safely stop, not interfere with the intersection, but still see to go.
Right, so I don't know.
She may have just missed the fact that you stopped farther back than she thought you should have.
Right, and
so you can win on that. You can win on that. But it needs to be presented right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sue.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
All right, thanks.
Sue should just hire a lawyer. That would be my advice. Mike, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Carl. Looking for a little advice, direction here, I guess. We got hooked up with a contractor, my wife and I. We've been dealing with him a year now. And I would say 95% of the job done, and we had to let him go.
Okay.
Because he quit on our job, was working at another job, devoting most of his time to the other job, and then ended up threatening his wife in a phone call, which we had documented with police. you know. And when we told him we weren't allowing him back in the house for that reason, he said, I'm going to sue you for the last straw, which we weren't arguing giving him the last straw, or at least a portion of the last straw, but we need to still have the house finished.
Right.
So we had two other contractors in. Both contractors said above $6,000 for the finishing of the house, where we have $13,000 left in the draw. Well, we said we'd give him $10,000, okay, of that, and let's be done. Well, I mean, he's suing us for $23,000. We obtained a lawyer, and he 3 times accepted the $10,000.
Okay.
3 different times said, I will accept it, and then when it came to the table, changed his mind. Because each time we drew kind of paperwork with our lawyer saying, you know, it's going to call, you know, we're going to be good, and then he closes it because he's running us through the ringer with our lawyer because he has not obtained any legal counsel. So, long story short, we've decided, you know, no more dealing with you. We're going to go to court with you, and we are, you know, in turn suing him because of the, you know, the shoddy work. I mean, there's way more than $6,000 of work needing to be done at the house.
Right.
However, we have hit the wall with our lawyer, so we're about to go into the discovery phase, and we can't afford to pay out to the lawyer anymore. Now, we're going to keep him on as, you know, an advisor to help us get through documents. I just kind of wanted to see, I mean, the lawyer told us we will win the case without a doubt.
Right.
However, he doesn't think there's a very good chance that we will recoup any of the legal fees.
Which is correct. The general answer is absent a specific contract to that effect, or unless you can get under one of the consumer protection statutes.
Okay.
Which with contractors you sometimes can, but that would be the area to look at. Then you would have a chance for attorney's fees. The other problem, though, is at the end of the day, is will the contractor have sufficient resources to pay a big award if you were to get one?
That's where our attorney advised us that most likely he doesn't have the funds to support it, and we're going to end up. So I mean, we had to come. Is it okay? My next question would be: is it foolish of us to go through this next couple phases without the attorney like working for us and us doing it ourselves?
Well, it's always better to do it with an attorney, obviously, but if you can't afford one, then you know, sometimes that's a better way to go. The other idea is to offer the attorney a compromise, which is, you know, whatever you can collect, you take a percentage of.
Right.
And see if that motivates him.
Yeah.
We call that contingency fee.
He's being very lenient with us because we're, you know, state workers and whatnot here.
Right.
We got it in the worst time possible.
Right.
But,
contingency fee might be the way to go.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty confident with the whole thing, but, you know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right, so the consumer. Yep.
Try consumer protection statute.
Consumer protection statute. Thank you very much.
All right.
I love the show, man.
Thanks, man.
Later.
Yeah, that's tough. Gene, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Carl, thank you. I enjoy your show. Quick
Thank you.
Social Security question.
Yeah.
I'm 66, thinking of waiting to 70 to draw my Social Security. If something happened to me, like a heart attack or something in that time, would it jeopardize my wife's benefits, who I would have as a survivor? Or she would have a survivor's benefit on mine if I were to take it earlier while I'm in good health?
Well, if you take it earlier, it doesn't jeopardize her benefit. I don't know if it changes her benefit or not.
If I don't, though, would it?
No, I don't think it jeopardizes it at all. But call Social Security. Music's up. Gene, I got to go. Sorry about that, Gene. Hey, music's up 540-0580 next week. Otherwise, you got to go to weekendappointment.com. Weekendappointment.com. Post your message. Get your question on there. We'll answer them next week. I'll answer them through the week. You can get my office number there as well. Weekendappointment.com. I'll see you all next week.